Okay, I'll get started then. Um, Hi everyone. So today's topic for this workshop by the Writing Center would be unblurring plagiarism and paraphrasing. Uh, we have always like sort of faced this issue of plagiarism and paraphrasing, especially right now when we have so many, online citation generators. We are mostly concerned about, getting flagged for AI paraphrasing or, not doing the paraphrasing correctly, so you get plagiarized. So a lot of things to cover today. Super excited. So yeah, let's just dive into it. So on a scale of 1 to 5, I just want to hear your thoughts. Since we have one participant today, uh, how easy do you think it is to write? You can use the chat, and you can also turn your mic on and just speak. Anything works.
I would say like three.
Great, perfect. What about how is it? Uh, how easy it is for you to use sources?
Also three.
Okay, okay, that's great. Uh, Sources is using sources is of course a critical part of writing, and it kind of gets tricky sometimes. But yeah, hopefully this workshop will make things clear for you guys. Um, how easy it is for you to paraphrase? So you have a quotation and you want to paraphrase it and write it on your paper. How would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 5?
The two for me.
Yeah, paraphrasing is a little bit more tricky because you don't really want to change the meaning of a paragraph, right? And still want to paraphrase it so that it sounds your synthesis. Next, how many ways do you know that plagiarism happens? Any ideas? Any suggestions? Um, if not, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. You'll see a couple of different examples of how plagiarism actually happens and how we can avoid them. Okay. So the objectives for today's workshop is to understand why we use sources and cite them, um, and examine different types of plagiarism and how to avoid them, and learn best practices for paraphrasing. Um, okay, why do we use sources and cite them? Let's talk a little bit about this. So whenever we use sources, it helps us build credibility of the research work we have done, or to show what we have learned about a certain topic, right? So, for example, you're writing a paper and you've made a claim and you need some evidence to support your claim, right? That's a very good place to use a source, some prior work that has already been done. Another reason I can think of is when we are doing project proposals or research papers, you have to build a literature review, take inspiration from other research papers that have already been done before, and then do the work. That's one of the another reason why we use sources. Um, Connect our work to bigger topics. Yeah, our sources, they show a breadth of our research, like what all we have looked at before we have started writing our research paper, and it also allows the reader to find our sources. So readers can either learn more about the topic, or verify facts. So that's one of the other reasons why we use sources. So, a couple of good and bad ways to use sources. The first one is really popular, which is quoting. We just put two quotation marks and just do full and just copy paste fully from the source. Uh, and then we provide in-text citation so that we don't get plagiarized or flagged. The next way is to paraphrase. So you have a quotation and you don't really want to use the quotations and copy paste exactly from the source, but you want to paraphrase it a little bit more, and write it yourself, but still not changing the meaning. That is one of the uh, mistakes often students do, is to just take the sentence or a part of a paragraph and paraphrase it in their own language, but sometimes they change the meaning of the sentence. So we really have to avoid that so that we don't change the meaning of the sentence. And a bad way to use source is plagiarism, of course. So we use sources, words, or ideas without giving any sort of credit or quotation marks, no in-text citations, no bibliography to give uh, the credit to the people who have actually written the source. So that's a bad way to use a source. So next, no. Sorry. Uh, when does paraphrasing become plagiarism? Uh, let's take a look at it. So if you only switch words for synonyms, uh, that's one of the reasons. When we keep mostly the same idea order, keeping mostly the same sentence structure, summarizing ideas with no citations at all. So these four things, they count for plagiarism. So we have to keep in mind to avoid these four things before we actually start paraphrasing or, including sources from different areas. And the last one is copying phrases directly without quotation marks or citing. We have to cite whenever we provide a different source. I cannot just take something from a paper and just put it on my paper and not cite it or put quotation marks if it's a direct citation. Now that we have talked about some of the problems that what counts as plagiarized content and what doesn't, let's talk about the steps to successfully paraphrase a source, right? The first is, of course, carefully read the text. We have to build complete understanding of what the text is talking about and what part of that we want in our paper and how does that relate to the context we are talking about in our own paper. The second one is take notes. Something I really like to do is while reading a research paper or any kind of sources, I just like to make some notes inside that paper and save it to my drive or anything so that whenever I jump back to that paper, I can see what notes I've made or uh, what I mostly underline sentences that I find really useful that I can put on my paper or highlight them and put some comments next to it so that I can come back and see uh, what research I did and how I can take these and put in my paper. So that's a really good technique that you can use as well. Set the text aside and write out the ideas in your own words. This is what I call synthesis, synthesizing a source in your own words. So once you have taken notes or you know what parts of that paper or that source you want to include in your paper, it's a pretty good idea to write the ideas out in your own words. What it shows is that you have a good understanding of the paper or the source you just read, right? And it also helps you build more understanding of the source and find better ways to integrate it into your own paper. Number four, cite your source. Yep, citing is always important. That's one of the main reasons things get plagiarized is because they are not cited properly. And fifth one is combine info from other sources and add your own analysis. So yeah, different types of information from different sources. It's important to have your own analysis or your own synthesis, as I've mentioned before. So just keep these five things in mind while successfully paraphrasing any paragraph or source that you want to. Now, a small activity for you guys on plagiarism and paraphrasing. We're gonna do a little bit of practice. We're gonna take a source, and we are gonna look at a couple of samples of paraphrased version of that source, and then we're gonna have a little discussion. So this is the source that we have with us. I'm gonna read out the source loud real quick. So smart objects provide a distributed architectural model for the Internet of Things. Due to their dual nature as physical and digital entities, such objects highlight the fact that the Internet of Things can be viewed only as a technical system, but must also be considered as a human-centered interactive one. This implies that we must expand smart object design beyond hardware and software to include interaction design as well as social aspects. So that's a pretty basic kind of a source. For a little bit more understanding, we are talking about smart objects in this activity. So if you guys are not familiar, some examples of smart objects include phones, cars, fitness devices, lights. And what this source is talking about is that these devices are located, devices have are location and time smart, right? So these objects can sort of talk to one another, and it create what is called the Internet of Things. So for example, my phone can talk to my TV and lights. So when I walk in my house, my phone tells my TV and lights to automatically turn on. So essentially what we see is that these objects have like a distributed architectural model, which just means that these devices are in different locations, and those locations can change. So just the gist of what this source is about before we actually dive into the writing part of it. But yeah, let's move on and move to the next slide. So this is sample A. Um, so what I want you guys to do is just think a little bit on what this sample is. Is this does this look plagiarized or this is properly paraphrased? I'm gonna give you guys like 5 minutes maybe to just think about what this is doing, and then we can get back and maybe you guys can drop in the chat what do you think about the sample, or you can turn on your mic and maybe tell me a couple of things you noticed about this. So yeah, take about 45 minutes, and I'll be back. All right, let's wrap up real quick with the first sample. So, any thoughts or inference after reading sample A? What do you guys think? Is this plagiarized or is it properly paraphrased?
So both of them on the chat are saying that it is plagiarism, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So let's look at why this is plagiarized, right? Now, let's look at the red box first. Now, that is a quote without any citation at all, right? So that's the first thing we need to keep in mind, that there need to be proper citation when you're citing something from a source. Uh, Next, let's look at the pink highlights. As we talked about before, if you just take words and put their synonyms in your paraphrased version, that is plagiarism, right? So if you look at the red boxes, we replace dual with to, we replace highlight the facts with show why, and then we replace beyond with include. So uh, these are some of the things. Also, another thing, the orange text right here uh, is the same order of ideas, and that is one of the other reasons why this sample A is plagiarized. One of the sentences is quite identical to the source. Yes, doesn't cite the source. That's absolutely correct. Good job, guys. All right, let's move to maybe sample B. Let's look at sample B for about like 3 more minutes, or till you guys reply to chat. I can come back maybe. But yeah, take a couple minutes to think about this, and yeah, go ahead. By the way, the source is the same, just the sample changes, so that it's easier for you guys. But yeah, go ahead. Okay, we have got two responses. So the first one is, this sample cites the source and also captures the meaning of the source paragraph. I think it's paraphrasing. Yeah, that is correct, but we'll look whether it's paraphrased or properly paraphrased or plagiarized in a bit. This seems like paraphrasing and it correctly cites the sources. It does, but there are little things that you guys might have overlooked. Let's look at those real quick. A couple of things here. The first one is pretty hard to notice, but if you notice here, the spelling of the author of the paper they're citing from is wrong. It's Kortuem, but actually in sample B, it's Koretuem. So that's a spelling error here, and that makes this plagiarized. Another thing here is that some of the information is misrepresented here. If you read the orange box here, it says that this implies that we must expand smart objects design beyond hardware and software to include blah blah blah. But on sample B, if you read it, it says designer can now focus primarily on hardware, right? So there's a change in information. The first source is that we can now expand beyond design beyond hardware and software. But on the other hand, sample B, it says we primarily focus on hardware. So there's a little bit of information that has been manipulated here. So this counts as plagiarism. A little harder to notice, but yeah, small things does make a difference when you're actually paraphrasing from a source. So just keep these things in mind when paraphrasing. All right, let's look at sample C. You guys know the drill. Couple minutes for you guys. Again, feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself if you want to say what's wrong with this. And yeah, the question is simple: paraphrased or plagiarized, and a couple of reasons maybe why you think it's either. Okay, and yeah, doesn't seem like paraphrasing, right? Uh, Same structure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This sample is actually generated using an online paraphrase generator. So you guys were absolutely right, tracking and tracing like what the problems with this sample is. Let's look at what the problems were. Yeah, similar problems, you're using synonyms, and then the sentence order is also a little bit off. A lot of words, again, here actually don't even make sense, and it doesn't really produce a coherent paragraph. So yeah, you guys were absolutely right. I think you guys are getting the hang of it, of how to sort of identify if a paragraph or paraphrase paragraph looks plagiarized or is paraphrased properly. So yeah, good job. Let's move on to the final sample here, sample D. Again, take a couple minutes and let me know your thoughts in the chat. Can you tell me a little bit more, Ananya? What spelling are you talking about?
I think the E and U were
Oh, yeah,
switched,
yeah,
but
yeah. I
yeah.
see it. I see it. Well, I think that's a typo. I totally overlooked that typo, but this does make it plagiarized because the spelling is wrong. But actually, if we overlook that and look at the structure of this, then it's properly paraphrased. If again, if we overlook the, I think there's a spelling mistake somewhere down here. Let me mark it. Somewhere down here, right? I think that this is the correct. Oh, this is the correct sentence. This is the correct spelling, uh, and this is not. So, uh, yeah. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about how this is correctly paraphrased, right? So again, if you see the sources are cited correctly here. Next is that if you look at the green box right here, the information that is presented is pretty accurate. There's new wording and order, but it doesn't change the meaning. It doesn't misrepresent information or manipulates information according to the writer. It still sticks to what the source actually said, doesn't really move the meaning of it. And it also uses sources to support original thoughts and extend the writer's own angle. Again, the synthesis part of it, as I talked about, um, which is pretty nice. The part in green, if you guys can see this part right here. Oh, oh, this part right here. This is the writer's synthesis. This is where they quoted, and this is where they synthesized their paraphrased quotation or site or source. So yeah, when do we use et al for the names? So we usually use et al for the names where there are more than two authors. So in this case, there should have been an et al. I don't know why there isn't. Again, I've not really created these these workshops, but just keep in mind whenever you have more than two authors. So just put the last name of the first author followed by et al, and that would be correct citation. Um, but yeah, good questions, guys. Gonna move on to the next one. Let me just turn this off real quick. All right. Oh, okay. So a couple of reminders. Uh, we often use online paraphrase generators, but just keep in mind that it's plagiarism to use them, as we saw in one of our examples, one of our samples, paraphrase samples for the source. That whenever we use those paraphrase generators, it what it does is just takes the original source and replaces some of the words with key synonyms, which does count for plagiarism. Again, and also it provides a lot of rubbish things and things that doesn't really sit together well. And it's really hard to understand after you generated something and just put it on your paper. Um, the flow kind of breaks as well. So some of the things to look out for whenever you have generated using paraphrase generators is that they use synonyms, keep the same order, which is again counts for plagiarism, and they also produce confusing text. So there's a couple of things. Uh, Another question is that do I need to cite every idea there is, right? I mean, the sky is blue. This you don't really have to cite this, right? The world is round. This is just a general fact, right? It's also called like common knowledge. So you don't really need to cite common knowledge. Uh, you can just write on your paper that okay, George Washington was the first president of the USA, and you don't really need to cite it because it's common knowledge. And because all of these things have been proven beyond reasonable doubt, and most of the people are generally aware of them. We don't really have the necessity to cite these ideas. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's workshop. Um, I'm going to send these links in chat just for your reference. Like, give me a second to do that. The first one is for Writing Center workshops. If you guys are interested in attending more Writing Center workshops, feel free to just register for one of the Writing Center workshops, and we can. There are so many writing tutors who can help you guys out with other types of workshop. There are other professional development workshops regarding writing as well. Like if you want to build a resume, or if you want to work on scientific abstracts, you want to know how to write scientific abstracts. A couple of different options. You can check the Writing Center's webpage, the website. Um, as well. We also have homegrown handouts. So if you guys are writing something and you guys are a little stuck, you don't understand how, to maybe to write body paragraphs or thesis statements, or maybe conclusions, introductions. You guys have questions regarding grammar. There are handouts for everything on the Writing Center's webpage, and it's homegrown handouts. So we have created these handouts from scratch. They've also got some exercises after the actual handout so that you can get the knowledge and then practice a little bit to strengthen your ideas about writing. And the last one is that if you guys want to email the Writing Center, you guys can just use this email. I'm also going to put that in chat to just email and contact us. And again, the Writing Center is open for booked appointments. You can book an appointment with us through WC Online. And also, you can do open lab drop-ins. It's usually Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 to 9. So you can just come in, and it's a 20-minute long session, not really long like a drop-in, an appointment base, which is 1 hour long. But yeah, that's going to be it for the workshop. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer? Any, trailing thoughts, misconceptions that you might have? If not, can I get a quick thumbs up in the chat, or so that I know that everybody's page? Okay, perfect, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Soham. That was really very helpful. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure the students will find it very useful in the future as well.
Yeah, yeah. Paraphrasing, it's a nightmare sometimes, when you're writing paper. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining today's session, today's workshop in particular. And yeah, my appointments are still open. So if you guys are interested in, any writing sort of help, feel free to set up an appointment with me. I've mentioned that in the announcement as well. You can find the booking link in the announcement. So yeah, thank you guys for joining, and I hope you have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone. I'm closing the meeting now.